Welcome. So, today we're just going to be watching some scary videos. Shout out to Horror Shorts Party. And let me close this real quick. And let's do it. Horror Story Party. True Christmas. Horror Story 1. Following stories are Santa, get out of my Facebook, bro.
This happened last year, when I was a senior in college. At that time, I was dating this guy named Daryl. Between the spring and fall semesters, I would usually go home and visit with my parents for a few days during Christmas time. But that year, they were traveling out of state, and I didn't want to go all the way out there. So Daryl invited me to come home with him when he visited his home, which I ended up doing. Daryl's parents lived way out in the countryside, which I'd never really been to before. When we finally got to the house, I remember seeing this little cottage surrounded by nothing but banks of snow, all in this large field of nothingness. There wasn't much around, which I figured as it was a cottage area. Daryl's parents eventually came out to meet us. As soon as they saw me, their smiles disappeared into blank looks of disapproval. At that moment, I realized Daryl had probably not shown them any pictures of me, and since my name didn't give it away, they were probably quite shocked to find out we were an interracial couple. I tried not to let it get to me so I could make a good impression, hoping that with time they would be more accepted. On the surface, everything was fine. It was a nice cozy Christmas Eve, and Daryl's parents made dinner for us. We started chatting at the table trying to get to know each other. However, I couldn't shake the feeling that they looked down on me like I had no business being with their son. Hey, you mind cleaning up and doing dishes?
Wait, what?
You're a guest in this house, aren't you? House rules.
I guess? I just need to use the bathroom first.
If you must, just remember to flush twice. I kept looking at Daryl to see if he would stand up for me like he would anybody else treating me that way. But in this case, he kept backing down to his parents. He repeatedly tried to smooth things over when talking to me, but things kept stacking up. That evening, they made me sleep in the guest room separate from Daryl. They said it was immoral for an unmarried couple to sleep together in the same room. I don't know why, but I could just tell by the way they said it that they were trying to get under my skin or something. When I started getting ready for bed, I noticed that the doors in the house had no locks except for the front door. That meant there were no locks to the bedrooms or bathrooms. I considered blocking my bedroom door with something, but then I decided not to on the chance that Daryl might sneak into my room. I turned off the lamp and went to sleep. But I couldn't sleep as my mind was racing the entire time. I just couldn't wrap my head around why Daryl's parents were being such assholes to me. I really contemplated on leaving, but decided to just get some shut-eye and hope tomorrow gets better. Later in the night, I heard footsteps outside my door. Someone was clearly awake, but I had no idea who it was, since the room was pitch black and I was sleeping alone. My hearing was at its height. I could tell that whoever was walking had stopped outside my door. For a moment, my heart fluttered as I expected Daryl to open the door and come in or something, but nothing happened. It was as if whoever was there was just standing outside the door. There were slits on the bedroom doors, so it was possible someone was watching me. It was too dark to tell, so I tried to ignore it and get some sleep. The next day, Christmas Day, was no better. It was actually worse. I was sitting on the toilet in the morning when all of a sudden, Daryl's dad accidentally bursted in. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to. Didn't think anyone was in here.
Can you please close the door?
Just don't forget to flush twice. At first, I thought the whole flush twice thing was a crude joke. But no, they were listening in on me to make sure I actually did it. This whole visit was just weird as hell. I couldn't wait for my stay to end so I could get the hell out of there. An hour or so after bedtime, I heard the sound of creeping footsteps outside my door again. It seemed like the footsteps had once again stopped in front of my door. I had to make sure someone wasn't actually out there spying on me, so I got up to check. I slowly approached the door, scared out of my mind. When I finally opened the door, I saw Daryl's dad standing right in front of me, completely naked. I slammed the door screaming and put my weight against it to keep it shut. A few moments later, Daryl came to check on me, so I opened it for him. Daryl justified his dad's behavior by telling me it was okay because his dad sleepwalks, but I didn't buy it. I couldn't wait for more, so I called my mom and begged her to pick me up, mainly because Daryl refused to leave his parents before he was supposed to. Needless to say, I broke up with him shortly after that. He had a hard time letting me go, though. He called and texted me over and over again until I had to block him on everything and ghost him, only for him to show up at my door a few times, begging to get back together with me. I threatened to file a restraining order against him, which was thankfully enough for him to stop messaging me. It just goes to show I probably dodged a bullet with that guy. This story was inspired by a horrific Christmas incident submitted by a viewer who claimed she was terrorized by her ex's family during her stay, prompting her to leave early and break up with her boyfriend. Some of those terrifying things she experienced was all portrayed in the animation. She claims the incident happened during the Christmas of last year. The viewer also includes a photograph of the alleged house she claims she quote-unquote escaped from. The viewer concludes the email by saying that her ex still tries contacting her to this day despite her ghosting him since the occurrence.
3 of your ex-boyfriends died. Sure, a few of my exes are dead.
This is downright one of the creepiest incidents that has ever happened to me. It happened around Christmas, and I get it. Everyone loves Christmas. It's supposed to be the most joyful time of the year or whatever. I used to love it too, until what happened. Now I'm lucky if I can make it through that time of year without having nightmares. It all happened a couple of years ago when I was in high school, and it was the last day of school before winter break. Most of my friends were skipping school that day to go out and have some big snowball fight in the park. I wanted to skip class too, but I didn't want to get in trouble. My parents were very strict. I dreaded going to school that day though, because I had to walk there. It wasn't the farthest walk, so it didn't make much sense for me to take the school bus. It was still at least a 5-minute walk though, and it was freezing outside at that time of year. My parents couldn't drive me to school because our family only owned one car, and my mom had to take it to work early every morning. My dad didn't have the option to drive me even if he wanted to, so I got ready for class that day and reluctantly started to walk to school. It was early, so the sun hadn't fully risen yet. It was still a bit dark outside, which of course only made it colder. Plus, it was snowing that day. We had been having a bit of a blizzard. The streets were completely empty as I walked down them. All I could think about was how pointless the last day of school was going to be. That's when I saw a man dressed as Santa standing ahead of me. He was an older guy with a beard, and he had the red suit and everything. He was holding a large bag of candy. I thought it was pretty strange that he would be outside so early, especially since it was snowing and cold. But I figured there were a lot of Christmas crazies out there, so I continued to walk towards him. As I got closer, his face started to creep me out. He definitely didn't look like he should be wearing a Santa costume. I couldn't fully say what it was. He just looked freaky and off. I didn't want to have to walk past him, but I couldn't really cross the street because cars were coming here and there. It looked like the other side of the sidewalk was piled with snow anyway. I was stuck where I was. I decided to continue walking and just mind my own business. When I got closer to the guy, I tried to just keep my head down and walk around him. I was almost past him when he suddenly held out the bag of candy and said,
"Would you like a piece of candy?"
I gestured with my hands no, politely declining his offer. Then I continued walking away as fast as I could. I didn't know why, but something about this Santa guy made me feel very uneasy. I was happy to be away from him, but as I walked, I began to hear footsteps behind me. I didn't want to turn around because I was scared as hell. I picked up the pace and tried to speed walk a bit, but the footsteps behind me got faster as well. I was shitting bricks. I was 95% sure that it had to be Santa following me. I didn't know what to do. Part of me just wanted to take off running, but I didn't know if that would just set him off. There didn't seem to be any good options. I hoped and prayed for a car to drive by at that moment. But of course, the roads were completely deserted. There was no one around to see what would happen. It was a scary, horrifying feeling knowing that whoever was behind me could literally attack me without any bystanders getting in the way. At this point, I deeply regretted not skipping school like everyone else.